All right, let's jump right in. We are talking about something I'm pretty sure every single one of us has dealt with: overthinking. You know that feeling, right? When your brain latches onto a problem, or a conversation, or some decision, and it just will not let go. It's exhausting. So today, we're going to break down why our brains do this, and, way more importantly, what we can actually do about it.
I mean, it's that classic 3 a.m. experience, right? You're staring at the ceiling, replaying something you said hours ago. Or maybe it's that knot in your stomach while you're waiting for someone to reply to a text. That endless mental chatter, that's the beast we're talking about. It's kind of like having way too many tabs open in your brain's web browser, and the close button is broken on all of them.
So, what do we really mean by overthinking? Well, it's a very specific kind of mental loop. It isn't just thinking hard about something important. It's when that thinking stops being productive. You're not actually moving towards a solution anymore. You're just spinning your wheels, replaying the past, dissecting every tiny little detail, and, my personal favorite, jumping straight to the absolute worst-case scenario.
And here is the real trap. Overthinking feels like you're doing something. It feels like you're being responsible, preparing for every possible outcome. But here's the thing. All that mental energy almost never leads to an answer. Instead, it just creates this big cloud of stress and anxiety.
So why? Why do our brains even do this? Well, what's so fascinating is that overthinking isn't just some random glitch in our system. It's actually our brain trying to do its #1 job: keep us safe. You can think of it as a feature, not a bug. It's just a feature that has gone into total overdrive. See, our brains are wired for survival. Thousands of years ago, the person who worried, hey, what if there's a tiger behind that rock, was probably more likely to survive. That's our ancient negativity bias at work. Today, that exact same wiring kicks in for things like a work deadline or a weird look from a friend. It's always scanning for threats, trying to stop you from making a mistake, and desperately trying to control a world that is, let's be honest, completely unpredictable. The problem is, it's just doing its job a little too well. This question. This is the engine of so much overthinking. When a decision feels big, whether it's a huge career change or just what to write in a text, that fear of regret can be paralyzing. Your brain tells itself that if it just analyzes every single possible angle, it can somehow guarantee you won't make the wrong choice. So the faulty logic our brain gets stuck in is this: the more I think about this, the safer I'll be. It thinks that all this analysis is the same thing as security. But what usually happens? We think so much that we never actually do anything, which leaves us stuck exactly where we started, feeling anything but safe.
And this chart just lays out the difference perfectly. Productive thinking, it's goal-oriented. You're thinking so that you can take an action. It leads to clarity. Overthinking, on the other hand, is often just thinking to avoid the discomfort of actually doing something. It doesn't create clarity, it just creates more thinking. It's a really, really clever form of procrastination.
Okay, now let's get into how this whole thing becomes a cycle that just feeds itself. Because once you're in it, it can be so hard to get out. Overthinking isn't just one thought. It's a feedback loop that can spiral really, really fast.
Here's how it tends to go. It all starts with a trigger, which can be literally anything. Your brain starts to analyze it. But remember that negativity bias? It quickly jumps to imagining the worst possible outcomes. That, of course, makes you feel anxious. And what does your brain do when it feels anxious? It tries to think its way out of the problem, which just throws you right back to the beginning of the loop. Only now you've got even more anxiety fueling the fire. This might sound a bit theoretical, but we live this all the time. Let's take a super common everyday example to see this loop in action. You send a message to someone, and they don't reply right away. Just look how quickly this thing can escalate. At 1 minute, it's just a simple fact. They haven't replied. But 5 minutes later, your brain is analyzing. Did I say something weird? By 10 minutes, you're replaying the past. And then, just 15 minutes in, you've leaped from a simple fact, no reply, to this huge emotional conclusion. They are definitely mad at me.
But what's the most likely reality in like 99% of these cases? They're in a meeting. Their phone is in another room. They're driving. They're just busy. That huge gap between our brain's imagined disaster and the boring, simple truth, that's where all the unnecessary stress lives.
Okay, so we get the why and we get the how. Now for the most important part. The good news is we are not helpless here. There are simple, really practical things we can do to break that cycle. So let's open up the toolkit.
This is, without a doubt, the most important first step. You can't stop a cycle you don't even realize you're in. The second you can kind of step outside of yourself and go, ah, there it is, I'm doing the overthinking thing again, you've already started to break its power. That little bit of awareness is everything. It stops the loop from being automatic.
So once you've noticed it's happening, try giving yourself a boundary. Instead of just letting the worry run wild for hours, you can actually say, okay, brain, I hear you. You get 10 minutes to worry about this as much as you want. Seriously, set a timer. When that timer goes off, you make a conscious choice to move on. This helps contain the overthinking instead of letting it hijack your entire day.
And this is so key. The ultimate antidote to overthinking is almost always action. That mental fog doesn't clear up with more thinking. It clears up by doing. Even one tiny step forward, sending that one email, making that one phone call, can shut the whole spiral down. Because now you've given your brain new, real information to work with instead of just imagination.
You know, sometimes the fastest way to change your mind is to change what your body is doing. A mental loop usually happens when we're sitting still, just stewing. By physically getting up and moving, you can literally interrupt the pattern in your brain.
And this does not have to be complicated at all. We're talking about going for a quick walk around the block, putting on some music and just dancing around for a minute, or even just calling a friend to talk about something totally different. Anything to just reset your brain and break that loop.
And finally, try to become a detective of your own thoughts. When your mind is screaming, "They're definitely upset with me," just pause and ask for the evidence. Is that a fact, or is that an assumption I'm making? Learning to tell the difference between what you actually know and what you're just imagining, it just drains all the power out of those worst-case scenarios.
So, after looking at the problem and some of the solutions, what's the one big idea you should really hold on to from all of this?
It's this. Your brain has good intentions. It's not your enemy. It's just using an outdated survival strategy that totally backfires in our modern world. And when you understand that, you can start to approach your own mind with a little more compassion and a whole lot less frustration. It's not you, it's just your programming. And the good news is, you can learn to work with it.
And really, that's the whole thing right there. That constant struggle to control every thought, every outcome, that's what creates all the noise. When you can learn to accept a little bit of uncertainty, to trust that you can handle things as they come, and to just gently guide your focus away from those useless loops, well, that's when you finally find that quiet space you were looking for all along.